Hi, my name is Jacqueline O'Neill, and welcome to Biblical Hebrew. Today we're starting week 4, and we're going to study the letter Vav. So the letter Vav looked like this in the pictograph, and this is a picture of a tent peg. So this is the part here that goes into the ground. You tie the rope around here, and then this V section keeps the rope from being able to pull up. So that is how the Vav came into being. There's some argument as to whether or not when the Vav was made like this, if it was pronounced like a V sound or like a W sound. So as you go into Hebrew, you may hear people pronounce, when they see the Vav, they may pronounce it W or they may pronounce it Va, if you're going into Biblical or Paleo Hebrew. So Hebrew did not change much in this Vav. So this was the later on look of the Vav. And finally, this is the modern form of the Vav. So again, it's a peg. So you have your little notch at the front, and then this coming down. So this is the number 6 in Hebrew. And Vav stands for, as we said, a peg, a hook, a nail, anything that you use to secure one thing to another thing. A ladder. So it also is representative of a man standing upright, either in pride or in righteousness. So pride being a bad thing, not a good thing. Standing up brazenly against the will of God, or standing up because they're walking in the will of God. Vav also refers to the labor or work of men, how much we are able to do, and our vanity of our work, how our work constantly comes to naught. You scrub dishes and then tomorrow you got to do them again. So that kind of a vanity. It also is representative of the Son of Man, the Messiah. So the concept of the labor of man and the Son of Man and a man in this is because the letter Vav is a connecting letter. In the Hebrew, it typically revolves around, if it starts a word, which very few words actually start with the letter Vav. We'll get into that at the end. But normally if you see the letter Vav at the start of a word, what it means is and. So it's connecting two words together. The first time we see the Vav in the Hebrew alphabet is in Genesis 1:1, where it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." So this Vav is a connecting point. So the concept of it is, for the Messiah at least, is that he is the connector that brings us together, that brings the heavenlies to the earth and the earth back up to the heavenlies. So he is the only one who's seen the Father and who knows him, and he is the one who intercedes for us before the Father. So it's this two-way connection of Vav that is the Messiah. Also, the concept of connecting us to the Lord, walking in righteousness is what connects us to the Lord, that relationship with Jesus, but then being obedient to him. Jesus said, "If you love me, you will obey everything I've commanded you." And that is righteousness. Having faith in him, the Holy it says Abraham believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness. And so that faith in the Lord, that obedience to the Lord, all of that is that connecting Vav. But it also, as we said, is the labor that we're created to do. This is because Vav is the number 6. And the world was created in 6 days. And so it's the creation of man and his world that 6 is representative of. And so we labor, we work, we do all these things for those 6 days. God created it so we would have 6 days that we worked and then the seventh day we rested. So that is the labor of man is in that sixness. So the six in the Vav also represents light, the light of God come down, because light you see coming down from the heavens down to the earth. Crepuscular rays from the sun would be a really good visual of that. Also, the concept of, as we said, physical completion. So that you know, so 6 is what man can do, but 7, which we'll see here in a little bit, is the number of God and what he can do. So, so that's because God created the world in 7 days, and so that 7th day was part of his creation, but yet he rested in it. 6 has a lot of connections to the earth just in and of itself. Think about it. In the world, we have 6 directions, 6 physical directions. So you can go up, you can go down, you can go forward, you can go backward, you can go to the right, you can go to the left. So there is these 6 physical dimensions. As we said many times already, there's 6 days of creation. The 6 days of creation are considered to be a mask, which God hides behind. So we've talked about this a little bit in the past with the Aleph and the Bet, that the Aleph is hiding behind the Bet, and the Bet is the creation. And we see what the Aleph is through what comes out of the Bet. And so the Vav has that similar concept of it, that God made all of this creation, and then he uses that creation as a mask to hide behind, and to reveal himself to us, but through a mystery. So the Vav is a hook in the Hebrew. Let's see. It is a connection between spiritual and earthly matters. The Vav always points us to the Word, the Bible, because that is what connects us to God. The Vav, when added to a word as a prefix, can change, to a verb, can change the timing of the verb. So it can make a future tense verb into a past tense, and a past tense verb into a future tense. I know that sounds very confusing, but a kind of a concept of that is that God, what he planned in the beginning will come to fruition in the future, and what happens now was planned for in the past. That time is seamless for the Lord. There's no surprises for him. He's not like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that was going to happen. He has planned everything minutely around what it is that we're going to do, and he's planned all the contingencies around what we do. This concept is in Colossians 1:17, where it says, "He is before all things, and in him all things are held together." Only 3 words start with the letter Vav. The first word is Vav, and Vav is a peg, so that's pretty self-explanatory. The place where this is talked about is in Exodus. Exodus refers to the pegs or the hooks that the temple curtains were hung on. So this is the first word of Vav. The next word of Vav is, Vizar, and this is to be strange or to be guilty. And it appears only once in Proverbs 1:28. And the last word of Vav is child, which is Valad. And this word appears only twice, once in Genesis 11, verse 30, and the other in 2 Samuel 6:23. So, when I've done some studies in the past about parents and children and that sort of stuff, and there's really not much about children, and there's really not much about mothers. Most of the emphasis that God has on things is on the father. And I think that that's because that father is representing him in that relationship and who he is trying to show himself to be. Not that mothers and children aren't important, but he's trying to demonstrate that. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this time, and we're going to use this later on to give some more information as we have an auxiliary lesson after this lesson, Zayin, Het, and Tet. So be looking for that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Vav then. Thank you.